Hello, it is July the 12th, and I wanted to do kind of a special, shorter message today. One that I think will surprise most people when they actually hear this message and make people think about something maybe they haven't really truly thought about before, which is desperately seeking Jesus. Not just seeking Jesus with your heart, which is important, but like desperately seeking Jesus, like reaching out and like doing everything in your power to find him. And I found a couple Bible verses that I came across actually while I was talking with my son, or actually doing little Bible stories with my son at night. And sometimes those things impact me more than it impacts him. And I think that's actually something to be said for a lot of Bible sharing and just companionship and the discussion about the Holy Word, and going, wow, that meant more to me than anybody I was teaching. And so I came across these two stories. One that really kind of shocked me, one that I've kind of used before in the past, and it really kind of just hit me with a ton of bricks. And so we're going to look at two verses specifically today, or two passages today, I should say. So just two, both in Mark, and it really kind of rings to the desperation we should show when it shows that we truly need Jesus. When he is the only answer, when he's the one we should be reaching out to. And these two examples are ones that really kind of show us that maybe we've kind of just been like kind of lazily going through our desire to reach out to him and trying to find him. I myself included. I need something, and I pray to God, God, to work this through, help me out, give me direction. And instead of going, no, I need that healing, that companionship, that love that only God has through his son, Jesus Christ. And that's where I came across this first one in Mark 2, 1 through 11, or verse 1 through 11. And we see here Jesus who's in this area, and he has people just coming to him and desiring to be around him and desiring his healing. And we see what the desperate moves that some friends will do for the love of their friend and for the knowledge that Jesus Christ is the only one that can save them. So let us read Mark 2, 1 through 4 here. It says, "And again he entered, he being Jesus, into Capernaum after some days, and it was noise that he was in the house." Basically, it was noticed, and people were talking about Jesus being in that house. "And straight away many were gathered together, insomuch that there was no room to receive them." So they're pouring out of the house there, no, not so much as about the door. And he preached the word unto them. So everybody, the doors are open, probably the windows are open, everything that can possibly be open to have the voice go out, and people are pouring in any way possible to hear the words of Jesus Christ. "And they came unto him, bringing one of the sick with palsy, which were born of four," saying that here's one person who's coming to him sick, and he was carried by four people, his four friends. "And when they could not come nigh unto him for the press, they were uncovered the roof where he was, and wherein they broke it up, and laid down upon a bed, and therein the sick of palsy laid. So they opened up a space in the top of the roof so that they could push the bed down where the sick friend was. When Jesus saw their faith, he said unto the sick of the palsy, Son, thy sins be forgiven thee. But there were certain of the scribes sitting there and reasoned in their hearts." Basically, they thought to themselves, like they're thinking about what Jesus said there. He said, here you go, Jesus said, their sins are forgiven of thee, this person who is sick. "Why doth this man speak blasphemies? Who can forgive sins but only God?" This is what they thought to themselves. And immediately Jesus perceived in his spirit that they so reasoned within themselves. He said unto them, "Why reason ye these things in your hearts?" I'm going to pause here for a second and go and say that here we have Jesus reading these people's hearts and understanding what they thought. And it kind of goes to what Jesus said later on, which is what really matters is what's in your heart and what your desire and your focus is. Maybe not even your actions, because your actions were first thoughts in your head. People say they think without actions, not as true as it really is, because your brain has to think about what your actions are going to be. Like if you lust in your heart, then it's basically you've committed adultery because the action was there, your heart was there. God saw into people's hearts, even when He chose David as going what eventually would be king, and Samuel the prophet went and looked upon the sons of this person, and he said, it must be this son, because look at him, he's tall, he's handsome, and God said unto the Samuel the prophet, says, don't look upon their outward appearance, I look into their heart, I know what's there. So Jesus here is not only one saying that he can forgive the sins of somebody, which is blasphemy because only God can do it, which proves sons are Jesus' deity, but additionally he was able to read their hearts and minds and understand exactly what they were saying to themselves, and only God can do that. And here we see Jesus doing that, which is another proof of who Jesus was. It says, wherein is it easier to say to the sick of the palsy, thy sins be forgiven of thee, or to say, arise and take up thy bed and walk? He's basically saying, is it easier to say to this person to that their sins are forgiven, or that they rise and take up? It's basically asking a rhetorical question, but if you think about it, forgiving of sins is really powerful. But somebody can be healed, maybe not sick of the palsy very easily back then, but what he's saying is that, it is easier to say to this person, rise up and take thy bed, than it is for their sins to be forgiven. He says, but that ye may know that the Son of Man hath power on the earth to forgive sins. He's saying, I have the ability to forgive or to heal, as well as I have the ability to forgive sins. And he saith to the sick of the palsy, I say unto thee, arise and take thy bed and go thy way into thine house. Basically, go home. And immediately he rose, he took his bed and went forth before them, insomuch that they were all amazed and glorified of God, saying, we never saw on this fashion. They're saying, that is amazing. That here's this man who's sick, that Jesus is able to not only forgive their sins but heal them. And it's basically, when he's asking the rhetorical question, it's in that time it wasn't even very easy to heal somebody. And so not only can he heal somebody, but he can save them from their sins, and he said their sins are forgiven. That is amazing. But what I really want to take from this is you have these friends and a sick person, and they desired so much that healing of Jesus. They desired that presence of Jesus. They desired that teaching of Jesus, almost like the Mary Martha, when Mary goes before Jesus' feet and listens to his stories while Martha's going around cleaning the house. Mary sought the teaching and the love of Jesus more than anything else, including having a nice house for people to come and hang out. And here you have these people who went so far as to get to Jesus that they took a roof off the house. They're like, we need to get this man to Jesus no matter what. We need Jesus in our lives no matter what. This guy needs Jesus, even if it means I take the roof off of the house. I read a commentary about this, and somebody says, that it was the craziest person in that group that suggested, let's take off the shingles, let's take this roof down, we're getting this man to Jesus. But sometimes that desire, that craziness to be so close to Jesus is exactly what people need. They need that drive to find Jesus, that striving to know who he is, and saying, I need only the healing that the man who can forgive sins can give. That is the Son of God. Made me really think, I'm telling this story to my son, and I'm like, am I seeking Jesus like that? Am I looking for his love like that? Am I desiring his healing like that? Am I going to other things to heal me? Am I just wallowing in self-pity instead of reaching out to him? Am I just praying to God and going through the motions instead of going, no, I need to desire you with every inch and every part of my being. That's so much that I would take off the roof of a stranger's house to get as close as I can to you. I can't think of a single celebrity that people would do that. It's like, oh, here we have this amazing person who came into town. I love their music. I love their acting. I love, everything that they do. They're such an amazing person. Oh, they're in this crowded house. Well, shoot, I guess I missed it. No. Here is this amazing man, Jesus, who has been healing the sick and praying for people and teaching the scribes and the Pharisees and really, taking them to task and proving what God truly meant with his words. Uh, and they're like, I want to be near that guy. Turns out they made the best choice, because here Jesus is, not only is their friends saved and his illness put aside, but his sins are forgiven, and I can't think of anything better than that. Let's go to the next story, and this is kind of the one that kind of solidifies this thought about the healing of Jesus and desperately seeking him, just striving for him in every capacity that is there. So in Mark 5:24 through 34, we'll start with these first 5 verses. It says, and Jesus went with him. And this is a person who reached out to Jesus saying, hey, my daughter is dying or dead, and I need you to come. I need you to heal him. And so Jesus went with him. And so many people followed him and thronged on him, and they pushed upon and trying to get as close to Jesus as possible. And a certain woman who had an issue of blood for 12 years. So this isn't a person who just has a cold. This is a person who is well known in that area to be sick. That this woman, and it said, and she had suffered many things of many physicians and spent all that she had, and nothing was better, but rather she grew worse. This is a woman who went every direction possible to heal herself, and everybody around would know this. And it was the people that would see these events that were transpired would know the desperation that this woman had. And so, when she had heard of Jesus, came in and pressed behind. She reached behind him and touched his garment. You can imagine these people just surrounding Jesus, just going as close as possible to him, and just and talking with him and yelling things at him, and maybe I love you, Jesus. Maybe teach me, Jesus. Maybe heal me, Jesus. And here's this woman who knows that this is her only option. I've talked a lot about with people I've known about that low, just getting so low where there is no farther down you can possibly be. Maybe it's an addiction. Maybe it's in your life. Maybe you think that it cannot get any worse, and this is it. This is the bottom of the barrel. There's no place left to go. People often say, though, there's no place to go but up. Is kind of the phrase it says. And here you have, when you're so broken, you have no place left to go. Oftentimes, that's the opportunity when God's reaching out to you. It's like, I've been reaching out to you for so long, son, daughter. Just grab my hand. Let me show you true healing. The lady at the well, and Jesus said, "Let me give you the water that you shall not never thirst again." Saying that this is what you're looking for. When you're thirsty, we've been doing work in our house, and in this attic area where it's not insulated very well. It's the middle of summer, and it's just so hot in that room. And when I take that drink of water, it is like the best tasting water I've ever had, because I've sweated so much and I'm desperate for it. And that desperation that leads to that water that you thirsted for, and then you come to, and it's so good. And Jesus says, I will give you something that you'll never thirst again. You will never seek to try to satisfy yourself like what I can give you. And here's this woman who is as far down as she could be. She had nowhere left to go. She had nothing left to seek except for the one who's probably been reaching out to her for her entire life. And she knew that this is the man. This is the man I must seek, Jesus. And touched his garment. On 27 and 28 it says, for she said, if I touch but his clothes, I shall be whole. She knew that if I could just touch just a bit of his clothes, I will be whole. I mean, can you imagine? So, I don't even need to grab his hand, touch his hair, shake his hand, sit with him. I just need to touch a piece of his clothes. And she understood that. Can you imagine that faith, that understanding that I just need to touch Jesus. I just need Jesus in my life. I need that healing. I need that salvation that only he can give. Are we seeking Jesus like this woman? Like the man and his friends? In 29 it says, and straightway the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of the plague. She no longer had the sickness, just by touching the hem of his clothes. And Jesus, immediately knowing in himself that virtue had gone out of him, basically the power had gone out of him, turned him about in the press, basically in the crowd, and said, "Who touched my clothes?" I can imagine this is not an accusation by Jesus. This is just a question. Like, who was the one who needed this? And his disciples said unto him, Thou seeing the multitude thronging on thee, they said, Who touched me? He said. So he asked twice. And this woman, and he looked about round and to see her and that had done this thing. But the woman, fearing and trembling, because she heard this twice now, and she's not knowing what, because now she's healed, but and she took this power from him, but basically, the healing that she so desperately needed. And knowing that was done in her, came down and fell before him and told him the truth. She got out of the crowd, fell before her face to Jesus Christ, and said that she was the one that had touched him. And he said to her, Daughter, thy faith made thee whole. Go in peace and be whole of thy plague. Basically, be healed. This woman sought Jesus out and wanted desperately just to touch the piece of clothing that he had. Just like the people who raised the roof off of a house to make a hole big enough to lower the bed down. They desperately sought Jesus. And I've said it a couple of times, and I'll say it again. Are we doing the same thing? I can promise you that I fail that constantly. But Lord knows, since I heard that, I've been trying to desperately seek Jesus. I've been trying to look upon my heart and look upon the times where I just realize I haven't prayed in way too long. Lord, I need you. I look at my life just like David's life, where when he reached out to God and God led his direction, God led him into great things. He got led into trouble as well, problems that really kind of honed him and made him a better person. But those were events that transpired because he needed to be as strong as he could be. But oftentimes in the worst situations that David had, he went through, it was because of his own actions, where he did not reach out to God. He was not seeking God's counsel, and he did it on his own because he thought he had it. And I don't want to do that because I do it way too often. I need to desperately seek Jesus. I need to take the roof off the place, tear down a wall, maybe a wall in my own life, and just say, no, I need to be able to fit my body through that to get to the Jesus Christ. I need to get through the crowds just to touch his clothes. Because that is faith. That is a driving force that God can go, I can use you because I know you are strong in the faith and you come for me for healing, for me for comfort, because I'm the only one that can forgive sins. And you've reached out to the good shepherd, the one who will not lead you astray, but will lead you to clear waters and drink. And you shall thirst no longer, because it was the answer to the question. It was the final answer. And it was the only answer that mattered, which is Jesus. People will seek comfort in all things, just like the lady who sought any sort of healing she could and comfort from the plague that she had, the sick illness that she had. And you can go broke. You can go nuts trying to find the answers that only Jesus can provide. Do yourself a favor. Don't desperately seek answers somewhere else. Desperately seek answers with Jesus. And I promise you, I'll continue to try to do the same thing. I know this was a short message, but this was a message that needed to be said nonetheless. Jesus is the answer, and he's the one we're supposed to be seeking. You may be listening to this, you may be hearing this, and I don't know if you're going to hear it, the 12th of January 2020 or 10 years from now, 20 years from now. But you may be thinking to yourself, I've been desperately seeking answers everywhere else. I've made mistakes. I need to seek answers for the one who can actually do something about it. I need to tear the roof off that house and lower myself down into him and find him in any way capacity possible. I want to pray for you. I want to pray for me right now. Dear Jesus, Lord, my God, my shepherd, the true physician, true healing, true water, living water. I ask that we don't look for answers in the world, Lord. Not the answers that only you can provide. You've been reaching out to some of us, including myself, for so long, saying, I'm here. I'm in this building. Tear down the roof to get to me. But even better, Lord, you say, here I am at the door and I knock. You're waiting outside of our door, of our hearts, and all we have to do is answer that door. We may be desperately seeking you, but you're desperately seeking us. We are that lost sheep that you'll leave 99 in safety to go to the one that's in danger, that is lost, that is missing, that has gone astray. And you'll put that sheep, you'll put us upon your shoulders and you'll carry us. You don't just drag us along, but you bring us in safety and security and love. I ask that we continue to desperately seek you, that we desperately reach out for you. We don't do it with a half-hearted belief or desire or even faith. We do it with full desire, full faith, full longing. I say that for myself more than anybody I know. Lord, thank you for just in small verses and small messages to even our children that can reach into an adult's heart and teach them so much. Lord, bless us and be with us. If we are brought low, if we're the lowest of the low right now, and we're hearing this message, just like that woman who had nowhere else to go, Lord, I ask that you do it for us now. You reach out to us, you touch our hearts, you save us from our sins, and we confess with our mouths that you are the Son of God, that you are the only one that can save us from our sins, like only God can. You showed your deity there to those people who knew that only God can do what you can do. Lord, bless us, be with us this week. Be with us as we go about this week and this message enters our hearts. I ask that it does not escape, that the enemy does not take this away, that we've learned so much from this and that we can continue to move forward and go, wow, that God's truly touched me this week. I can say that for myself. I hope that you guys can as well, and that your week is blessed. May be Holy One in God. Amen.